Look how little you are in this
I'm so petite.
tiny little Kelin
I
girl.
so rarely get called little because I'm so obviously very big.
You're little to me.
Yay!
How we doing?
Great. How are you?
You're a liar, but I appreciate your willingness to
I'm
lie.
looking on the bright side.
Yes, government shutdown is over now. How are your feelings about government getting back to being inept again at full volume?
Yes. Well, I guess if we're looking on the bright side and the silver lining of things, it's better to be back and inept than inept and not back, I guess. Like, at least something is going on. At least people that weren't getting paid can start getting paid again. So that's good.
Stockholm syndrome, where the captors are now, thank goodness my hostage holder is back.
Yes.
Now he can give me the scraps of food that I was looking for.
I've been made completely reliant on you. And I'm talking about the people like whose paychecks, like government workers, military, people of that nature, that, are just, that was their job and that was their source of income. And that got cut off completely. I was talking to a really good friend of mine locally has a government job. And I reached out a couple weeks ago and I said, hey, are you not getting paid? And she's like, we've not had a paycheck since September. And that one was only partial. And I'm just like, that sucks. So at least that's back.
So did you kind of hear how that rolled out, how they got back to business again? Sort of, kind of. So what timing wise, what do you suspect? And good morning, Danyi. What do you suspect was the catalyst that now all of a sudden, after throwing tantrums and saying I'm not going to hit the continuing resolutions, and what do you think caused this all of a sudden?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because we can theorize. Just take a guess. You don't have to know. Just take a guess.
I don't really know. To me, it still feels like somebody finally felt the pressure of we are going to look bad if this doesn't end.
Okay.
And whatever side that was, I think it was, I'm sure, more of a selfish reason, more of a political play than this is just the right thing to do, or this was our strategy all along. It was, oh crap, we've reached a point. This is now going to hurt us in the future if we don't do something different.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it's any, it's not a coincidence that it happened right after the November election, where the people that were the Democrats are in a tough spot. And I've said this for a little while now, that they are taking the fringe, their most extreme, and they have to cater to them. And standing up to Trump and doing big things to put middle fingers up is what gets them elected, because that's what their base wants, is a punch to the face to Trump. And so it just so happened that they boxed themselves in where they were holding more of the responsibility for the shutdown, like from the public's perspective. But it's not like they could have just like given in to this thing and not paid political consequences in that election.
Yeah.
Now, the one negotiation where the Unaffordable Care Act was part of this deal. It was the reason why they were holding this up. So they had the reason I called it Unaffordable Care Act, because it mathematically was terrible, and it rewarded insurance companies, and it degraded services, and it made everything worse in every conceivable way. The only benefit was that it offered coverages to people who otherwise would never have had coverage. So it was just another social program. But you took the paid insurance and you squished it in with the charitable portion of healthcare, and it had doom written all over it from the very inception. And so during COVID, there was a subsidy that was tacked on additional spending because of those insurance costs. And now it's just this big cluster where the costs just went through the roof. They use government money to shield the end consumer from knowing that the cost had gone up so much.
Yeah.
So if the subsidies go away, then the people who have to pay it are like, holy shit, how did this go? I thought Obamacare was supposed to lower costs. Why did this happen? And it's a big blight on what the Unaffordable Care Act was supposed to be. And Imagine that. A subsidized program goes up in cost. Why would that happen?
It didn't work out well.
So anyway, they negotiated that this was in the original plan was that, hey, let's get the government through the end of November. Then we'll start negotiating the Affordable Care Act and what we need to do to, plug some of the holes that are in it right now. And they said no to it like 2 months ago, and they said yes to it the week after election. So it's very suspect on what's going down. I would really like, so the function of government is that you have a couple of people designated to go around and count like the votes that will happen, so they know whether or not they have enough going into it. And if you can't get enough Democrats, they needed 8 of them. And if you couldn't get enough Democrats, then might as well not even bring it to vote. It's just going to get shot down.
Yeah.
But those same people can make deals. They can horse trade their votes, right? So there are some holdouts that basically are like, I'm going to use this as a leverage chip to get something I want. And I'm going to wait till someone needs my vote. And then I got something I want you to do for me. And out of the whole 40 whatever Democrats that were out there, there was a lot of holdouts to be able to go. And they picked 8 of them, and they were almost all of them. I think all of them were in true blue states, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is that there's no hell to pay for a blue state. It's not like Chuck Schumer is going to, not even Dick Durbin. That was one of them that went over. You got a guy that's in a blue state. It's not like if he goes along with it, that he's going to get voted out in his state, but you've got people in red, purple states, right? That if they give Trump a win, they're going to pay the price in the next election for having done it. So it was a very methodical, little gymnastics that happened.
I saw some people on Facebook the moment they were like, finally so many Democrats have changed their mind and they voted and we can reopen. And all these people were like, who are they? Release their names. We want to know who did this. And I'm just like,
not a single one on the list. It has any now. There's no downside to having done that. I want to know though, what I want body cams on politicians so that when they're doing their business of making deals, like you can jump into their mic and camera.
Oh, they're like private deals, you mean?
Yeah. Anytime that they are in a professional capacity, right? When they're on our dime, right? We get to watch and hear whatever it is that they're saying. And that way we know what was just dealt. Like, hey, I'll totally vote here if you do XYZ. I want to know what XYZ was.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in a representative republic, we send these people there to do our bidding, right?
Yeah.
So a deal between two people that doesn't represent the district that you're coming from, right? You're not doing the people's work. You're doing your own work, and you're selling votes for other favors and chits.
Yeah. So, Julie says 6 of the Dems are not running for re-election. So that's probably why they feel fine doing it. Yeah.
So it was all upside for the Dems, and now they have till the end of January to figure out what it is that they're going to do. And I hope that, from what I heard, the only dealings were that they were going to take up the conversation and the negotiation on the Affordable Care Act. The Republicans have floated privatizing a lot more of this and doing health savings accounts and doing direct pays. Now we have some Democrats that think the only way to fix this is single payer. Only way to fix it is just government grab all the health insurance and screw everybody. And let's just, the original intent with Obamacare was to destroy it to the point where it's non-fixable and that we have to go to single payer. And so it's not a surprise that those people are like in the ambush position, waiting for it to get so bad to say, okay, let's just do socialized medicine. And here we are.
Yeah.
So do you like we've talked about the hybrid between let's take healthcare, and you're going to have a segment of healthcare that is on the private side where you get premium healthcare, you pay for what you're willing to consume. You're not, Bob down the street doesn't affect you whatsoever. It's you, your health, your doctor, and those services.
Pay when you use it.
Whatever. And then you have the charity portion of healthcare. You know how charity healthcare used to work?
How?
Okay, churches, right? They used to take care of the sick. And if you look at every hospital, there's usually a name of a church that is coupled with the with the hospital,
St.
right?
Elizabeth.
So yeah, the church extended its massive resources to put healthcare facilities in place where they could do it as an act of actual charity. So you have a private hospital that's XYZ company that is a pay for services deal. And then you have the church run portion of it that if you're destitute and you're sick and whatever, the nuns will come and slap you on the wrist and tell you to stop eating terrible food, but they'll take care of you and tell you about Jesus while you're there. That's the way that our charity should actually work. Single payer is not charity, but it is paid for like it is a charity.
Do you think, I'm just trying to be devil's advocate, because I like the idea of paying for what I need and I don't pay if I don't need it. Would somebody then push back and say, while that sounds nice, there are far too many people that would need the charity portion and we wouldn't have enough?
Well, it's true. And that's why all of us were warning to stop adding more and more people. So for instance, if we got 50 million people that we allowed as immigrants into this country illegally, right, or tolerated the illegal immigrants, well, yeah, you just added so many more people to the system that, it might not work. So if I were negotiating, I would say, listen, we want to be charitable with the people who actually need it. We feel that there are a bunch of people fraudulently claiming benefits that are making it far too expensive and hard to ferret those people out. Let's first spend the next 5 years removing people from the system. Be hardcore about people who shouldn't be there. Have some tests to make sure that you have the means to provide for yourself, and get all the people that can get off the system. Let's help them get off the system. That's number one.
Yeah.
And then once we know how many people we're left with, that they got bad situation, they got dealt a bad hand, they had a bad accident, they have some kind of disease. Now we know a number and say, okay, we're the most charitable country in the world, right? We've got 10 million people that absolutely have to just give into the system. Now the system can support it. But if everybody's on a charitable system, it's not charity anymore.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if you've seen any of the, I call it rage bait because this is coming out now at a convenient time to get everybody riled up. But have you seen any of the videos of the people that are supposedly complaining about the free food that they're getting? And then ultimately what they'll do is they'll say, here's some money. And all I got these juices for my kids because they wanted the cartoon character top juices. I got these snack cakes and I got this bread and I got this canned whatever. And this is it. And this is ridiculous. And I can't believe this is all the food I get. And then somebody comes on and says, first of all, I can't help but notice your fresh manicure in this video. Your nails have just been done. Number one. Number two, stop buying the sugary junk. And everyone says, oh, we're not allowed to eat sugary junk. You can put all the sugary shit in your body you want if it's on your dime. But don't eat that way and then ask us to go to work every day and work hard every day and struggle for our paycheck and make our ends meet to provide your sugary junk for you. And so that's everywhere. And it's so interesting that when you do then see people, and I have been around those that I could say, here's a good case. I would totally understand them being in the system. I would totally understand their inability to work, the injury, the hand in life they were dealt. I 100% could see necessary charity in their case. But you can't get it because you have all these other people that go and get their hair done and their nails done and a new iPhone and then buy sugary shit. And then we all pay for their medical costs when they're unhealthy.
In a direct democracy, you know what we would do?
What?
Just put it up to a vote, right? Put it on the ballot that says, what should SNAP benefits recipients be able to buy at the grocery store, and see what the people say. And then that's democracy. We love our democracy, right?
Yeah.
So just put it up for a vote.
Why can't
and it's not my opinion. I'm not judging, right?
Yeah.
But put it up for a vote.
Oh, we've got a few things. I think there's a couple above.
Okay, it's about time they start doing their damn jobs instead of sitting on their asses up there. And me, libertarian, the less they do, I think the more we're insulated from their bad, inept choices. So I don't mind. I mean, yeah, I'd probably stop paying them because I'd stop paying them anyway. Make it a actual public service where you're donating your time
And
to run government.
Speaking of that, the less they do, the more others do. Again, looking at the silver lining and the bright side of things, I've got to say, at least around me, probably not everywhere, but at least in my personal experience, I was very pleasantly surprised to see how the general public stepped up.
Yeah.
From churches, from local nonprofit organizations. I saw somebody in town, just a homeowner, just a neighbor, set a table out in their front yard and said free food pantry. And there were canned goods and there was bottled water and there was all kinds of stuff for days on end in their front yard. It was just free. Whoever, come by and take this. And that was all over the place, is these free food pantries. And I'm like, what a novel idea of people just reaching out and helping out.
Personal connections
yes.
with people. Yeah.
I'm like, imagine if we were in that mindset all the time.
Yeah.
I love seeing that.
And that's what we're missing. We have outsourced our charitable giving to other people, missing that connection that you get to have with someone who's in a bad spot. So the people then don't appreciate it because it's coming in the form of a check that is free from emotion and advice and mentoring. And so then you got people become dependent on that and they don't appreciate it. So when they say, I mean, put yourself in that spot. You qualified for something. It came in, right? And all of a sudden it stops coming in. You're going to be mad about it because that's just part of your livelihood. You probably already have fear that one day somebody does take it away from you, and you didn't become capable all along. You weren't sitting there saying like, hey, if this check comes in, I better go develop a skill or set up some opportunities or put more energy and emphasis in being productive. I can be unproductive and nobody puts any leverage on me. Nobody puts any, balance.
And not only are you ungrateful, you're feel entitled. Like you owe me this.
Right.
No, we don't.
Yeah. And that's the danger in creating a dependent state, is that it changes the psychology. So for instance, I was listening to an example about a cancer researcher. She was getting $1 million a year from Harvard Medical School to do breast cancer research. Right. And, Doge and the Harvard thing, they cut off a lot of the federal funding that was going to actual Harvard. So this breast cancer research was dried up. And so a lady who was researching breast cancer for 50 years, right, at more than $1 million per year, had her funding dried up. Right.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, this is a great opportunity. Obviously, after 50 years, if you haven't cured breast cancer, after the millions and millions of dollars that were sent, you don't have a product at the end of the day that did anything in the marketplace, right? You got a little apathetic and you knew your check was just going to come in and nobody was going to say no. So there was no stress or pressure on it to actually come up with something that was marketable out of the deal, right? So now what's that do? You don't get a free check. So how do you get checks as a cancer researcher? You have to actually join the marketplace that says, hey, I'm going to give you $1 million this year. And here's your benchmark. At the end of that year, here's what I want you to come up with. I want you to then present to me what my $1 million bought for me. And then I'll see if I want to extend you another $1 million. And if you didn't do a whole lot, didn't find a whole lot, if this was just like a free paycheck for you and your team, then that dries up after 1 year. And now you have a pressure on these unlimited subsidies to people with no incentive to actually come up with an end product. It pushes a mentality like, oh, you mean I got to actually do something and prove something and add value to the marketplace? That's a more balanced approach.
Yeah. Basically audit it.
100%.
How many other jobs are there that are not making buttloads of money that get audited, that get someone checking in on you?
The IRS has cast a mold. When the government wants their money, they know how to dig through your life and figure out what you're doing and penalize you if you're doing the wrong thing. So we just have EBT auditors that they wear the same clothing, have the same badges, have the same powers. They jump in your life and say, hey, you know what? I've been giving you this money. It looks like things are getting worse. Your health is worse. Your financial, whatever. We're going to audit you. And let's go through your decisions for the last 5 years and find out where you're going astray. And then you can go two ways. You can be, I'm going to coach and mentor you so that you make better decisions. Or I'm going to put you in jail if you just don't follow the rules and make better decisions. We can go either side. I would prefer the coaching one, but let's make them the
guess
IRS.
who's paying for the jail? You go to jail and you now what? No responsibilities are taken care of. Kind of like out in the real world.
Would it not be the same thing?
That's what I'm saying is
far less violent, same, get better meals. They'd eat a little bit better in prison because I'm sure that we have nutritionists that put together.
I'm pretty sure they have to go outside and walk around a bit.
That's true.
Probably more
maybe
exercise.
We have debtors prisons. Maybe we have social program prisons. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's worthwhile exploring at least.
Carter says air travel pressure, I think, was the last straw. They forgot that they work for the people, not us working for them. Let's see. 6 I'm not running. I try to vote for the best person for the job who is going to do the best job for the people. I'm not about Dems or Republicans. Right.
Very reasonable.
You got to do your homework.
That's true.
Antonio says, horrible takes that data does not support. Weak.
What? This was from a little while ago. So, Antonio, what horrible take? What data doesn't support it?
Yeah, sorry, Antonio.
Listen,
we kept talking before we saw your comment.
I am the data math person. So, if I got something wrong, I really like to know it. But if I don't have it wrong, I'm going to destroy it.
Just tell us, Antonio, and we'll feed it into the Joe machine.
Yes.
And see what data
yes,
carries.
please take Cheetos off the SNAP requirements. It should be essential only. Which is the healthiest for kiddos. And I actually did this. So there was a person, and they'll remain nameless, that I was helping through a battle of sickness, right? Somebody was sick for a long period of time, and they were sick of being sick. So they came to me and said, I don't want to be sick anymore. And I said, okay, give me tyrannical control over your decision-making. Before you eat anything, let me know. There's probably a whole host of things you're going to need to do. But the easiest is for me to find out what you're putting into your body and put different things in there. They were and are so mad at me when I tell them, no, you cannot eat that. I have tyrannical control. You gave me the scepter.
Yeah.
I know you want to bail out at this point because now it's really hard. Right?
Yeah.
And you're not seeing benefits in the short term right now.
Isn't being sick every day really hard?
Yes, but you forget it. Like once you're sick, you realize it. But once you get unsick for a little bit, you don't feel sick. And now you're still torturing yourself by not eating your Cheetos and drinking your sodies. Right? Then all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm better. I'm good. And I'm like, we're not going to let your sick cycle continue. You're going to listen to everything I tell you to put in your body, and I'm going to tell you really good things to eat and do, and this is going to be a long-term investment.
Oh, there's somebody I know, and I see them on social media all the time. Every time they're sick, they post a photo, and they say, oh, I'm sick, I don't feel well, so luckily I got my care package to take care of me and make me feel better, and it's candy bars and juice. And like all this junk food, and I'm just like screaming.
You need a mentor in your life.
Yes, I so badly want to comment and be like, I don't mean to be a jerk, but do you realize you're making yourself stay sick with that?
Julie says, how about the $500,000 for the Republicans that were involved in the 1-6 investigation that were subpoenaed by the FBI? They get $500,000 per incident. So they sued. I didn't hear about this one. So there were January 6th, which was, everybody at this point has to realize that January 6th was theater and it was just political, whatever. There were people put in jail that shouldn't have been. It was a cluster, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of paying the piper now. Hopefully they dig through everything that happened and everybody that's responsible for making that cluster in a spectacle and however it was presented, they get what's due.
There's a guy, I just saw a video. I can't remember his name or what he does, but he's like a politician or like a Charlie Kirk type that goes out on campuses and talks to people. And he was somehow involved in January 6th. Do you know who this is? Or I have to get some more information. He said something like, I pled guilty to something I didn't do because of whatever. I have to find more information on this. He talks a lot about the ridiculousness of all that, I guess.
Julie says there's been amazing advances in breast cancer research and survivability in the last 50 years. Not worth it. Oh, I think privately, when there are standards, I think it could happen a lot faster. But we live in a world where our research is there to sell pharmaceuticals. The funding comes from the people who want you to be sick, and they want to sell you their different.
Yeah. And that's what's so scary is like to hear that there's advancements is great, but I can't help but wonder, are our advancements still secretly stifled by those that can profit from it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, could we actually be farther than we even know? Could there be cures that just are being kept from us? Could there be other pieces of information that they're like, but if we give this to you, we lose over here. Yeah. So we're not.
Well, that we have a bunch of dichotomies, right? And so we talked about this before. Like if this comet that's flying by is an alien, right? And it's here to attack us or make contact or whatever. And the government finds out about it and they look at what's going to cause more damage. Tell the truth to the people, right? Or hide it, because the repercussions of telling you the truth means that there's more damage and devastation than is likely to happen with a contact with whatever. So they have these lists and they know when they're going to tell you the truth or not, depending on what the fallout looks like from telling you the truth.
Yeah.
So if we're like, okay, well, here's a disease that everybody, it's prevalent, like heart disease. And then somebody's like, okay, I got the answer, not a drug. I know how to fix heart disease. And then so they go to their little sheets and say, okay, if we solve heart disease and we save all these lives, right? But there's like 50 industries that need heart disease to exist. Maybe we shouldn't really maybe we should solve it light, where let's see if we can rescue some of the people that died of heart disease. But at the same time, we can't let these salespeople and these distribution and the manufacturing of this thing, think of all the jobs that would be lost because of it. And so when we're picking, there's going to be some of these things when we get to an authentic, truthful society that absolutely disappear, and there's going to be some pain that goes along with it. And so like that remember that theme. And I'm not just talking about that topic. We're going to have to write ourselves with, there's going to be some losers that happen when we start running civilization the way that it should. When we kick people out of the country, it's both sides of the equation. It's good for one person, but it's a really bad prospect for the other guy. Right.
Yeah.
And we got to warm up to the fact that we're going to have to have our gaze and our focus set on doing the right thing, even when it's hard.
That's almost impossible in
there was a teaching that happens on Sundays about the sacrifice of doing the right thing, not even when it's hard, but knowing the right thing is always harder than doing the wrong thing.
And I must say, you had me so conflicted recently. And in my head, I terrified myself because I had one little voice on this shoulder and the voice of Joe Danyi on this shoulder. Yeah. And I had to go to an appointment for lady stuff and mammograms and all that fun stuff that most women have to do. And the one appointment led to another appointment.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
It did?
It did.
Whoa.
Yeah. So they saw something. You need to come back. We need to further investigate. And then they did another test and said, but you can't leave until we look at these results, because there could be another test we got to do.
Oh, tests? More tests?
Yeah. And
a panel of them.
And I did.
A panel of them.
By the way, we got to go ahead and do this now. We're seeing something. And so I'm sitting in this waiting room, waiting for these tests, both terrified of, oh my God, what are they seeing? And is this scary? And oh my God, is it nothing? And they're doing everything they can to get paid. And am I going through unnecessary testing, harmful testing, God forbid, all kinds of stuff that could be making it worse if it's nothing? And I sat there like, I don't even know what to think right now. I'm scared that it's something bad, and I'm scared that it's not bad, and they're going to make it bad. And thank God everything worked out fine.
All right, so
but I remember being
listen,
like, Joe!
This would be a quadfecta. So you got the first two off of my bingo card. The next one would be a prescription. Did you get a prescription?
No, but they told me I had to come back in 6 months.
That's the same thing. Get ahead of me.
Okay.
The follow-up. So in order to go to the doctor's office, you have to go to the appointment, run a panel of tests, and the tests are going to tell them whether or not they need to do more tests and sell more tests.
Yeah.
And then those tests are going to give you some kind of prescription. And the prescription then is going to give you the follow-up. And then you just recycle that business plan. If you can keep people captured in a system of perpetual testing in pharmaceuticals and new appointments scheduled, that's a great business model.
Yeah. I was even a little proud of myself. I had, at the same time, I was also dealing with some other issue. They wanted to do some cardiac checks, and they're like, yeah, go talk to this cardiologist. And I was like, is that really necessary? All right, fine. And then the cardiologist said, I don't think this is heart related. If you want, I'll put you on a treadmill. We can do a stress test. And I said, well, I work out pretty regularly anyways. I already get my heart rate up and lift weights and do that. Isn't that the same thing? And I was like, well, then I'll pass. Thanks. I don't need another test. God forbid.
It's almost getting as bad as when you go to Best Buy and you buy something and they sell you like the warranty and the surge protector and the screen protector. It's like there's always another sales pitch when you go.
And again, and I don't want to say that like all medical professionals are just these shady, money hungry people. Like, I would appreciate if there was a concern, them looking into it. I want to know, my doctor's like, here's a concern. Let's make sure you're okay. By all means, please. But now I'm in this mindset of, can I trust that that's what you're doing? Or do I need to fear that that's not what you're doing? You're taking advantage of someone that you can get a bunch of money from. And that's where I live now.
Okay, so
like I needed more things to worry about.
Let me give you a upside, downside, bad side, downside. So
upside, downside.
let's just say Joe's Medical Clinic. I buy this machine, right, that will check something in your shoulder, right, then check for something. The machine costs $500,000, and I look at my appointments and how many people I see per day and how long I need to pay for this stinking machine. Now, it only applies to, 1 out of 1,000 people that really need this machine. But in order for me to be able to afford this machine in my office, I almost have to test everybody so that I can have the machine. So the upside is that if I have this machine, I'll catch the 0.5% of people who actually need it. But I have to expose people who really don't even need the test to be able to have the machine. So my choices are have the machine and save the one person, or not have the machine, don't save the one person, but save the everyone else the cost of having the machine. That's usually the choices there. Would you rather have the machine and have people exposed to that machine that don't really need it for that one person or that minority?
I don't want people exposed to necessarily, but I also want the person who needs it to get it.
That's why it's such a hard thing, because it's not just, yes, there are greedy people who are just doing it for the money, but most of it, they're put in circumstances. They almost have to play the game and use the business model, or they wouldn't have the machine. They feel like they can do a better job and expose people to unneedless testing to save the one. That's kind of where they're stuck.
Yeah.
But multiply that by every discipline in medicine, and you can see why it's a real problem, why things cost too much. And then you put it like, take, lawsuits and whatever into account as well. Well, what if you came through there and I didn't give you the test, and then if I didn't pick something up, you had to sue me? Now another incentive to give needless tests, because I'm covering my ass. Not only am I actually paying for my machine, but I got to make sure that I cover my ass on any exposure to liabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I have learned twice now. If you are a woman in your 40s and you have any pain or tightness in your chest, you're getting the works.
Yep.
The works.
They are covering their ass.
Yes.
So again,
you would want that. Like if you're having a heart attack or you have a blood clot or you have something serious, you don't want them to just say, here's the prescription. We'll see you later. Like you want them to take you seriously and check everything. So it is sort of this like catch-22 of like, they can't get sued. They got to do their due diligence, and they definitely need to save your life if that is a life-saving situation. Mm-hmm. At the same time, don't do anything unnecessarily. Don't rack up a bunch of needless hospital bills. Don't waste someone's time, and don't shoot them up with x-rays unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. So what do? You just go and you sit in a waiting room scared to death like I've done.
Yep.
Because I don't know who to trust.
That's right. But fortunate, and BJ is swearing back
I'm
there.
sorry, BJ.
Swearing at us, by the way.
Sorry.
So in the future, we wear these wearables that have sensors that, kind of let the algorithms and let the technology survey our bodies all the time.
Yeah.
And do you think that people who sell those tests and those big machines at doctor's office, do they want everybody? Because think about it. These things, if you multiply that by the 300 million people that are in the country, we've carried the load of having equipment that tests how healthy we are, right? So they don't have to. But do you think the guy who makes the machine right now has interest in making sure that wearables aren't a replacement for their big, bad $1 million machine? I bet you they're against it. Now, what if they had an interest in not coming up with a solution that is better for us, but really worse for them? Do you trust that the machine maker is not going to be the biggest advocate that wearables cause a big problem and they should never be or they should be regulated?
They're inaccurate.
Exactly. But that's where we're at. We have interests that are fighting against solutions. So like, as Julie was saying, breast cancer research has a noble thought to it. Yes, all of us want research to be done, but if you don't think it's an industry that has interest in keeping its industry around, like even the victims of the the Al Sharptons and sort of like the race hustlers out there, they need race to be a big problem. So do you trust the fact that they will ever let race be tamped down, or every chance they get, they'll remind you that race is a problem because they can't get speaking engagements and they can't be at rallies and they can't hold fundraisers if you take their problem away?
Yeah. And then we breed a society that just runs with that.
Yep.
It was funny. I was just telling my family the other day, this was last week after one of our shows. I was like, oh, it's funny. I got called a racist again today. And they're like, why? And I said, well, I mentioned Mandami in New York. And they said, okay. And I said, that's it. All I did is I actually defended him. And I said, we shouldn't be comparing him automatically to 9/11 terrorists, that you can't just start name calling. You may not like his policies. You may not like his ideas. But if all you got is, oh, he's a 9/11 terrorist, you're no better than the left who did the same thing. And I got called a racist because all somebody heard was me mention his name. And they ran with whatever they thought I was saying because they were so conditioned to think that way and to run with that stuff. Did you see what BJ wrote?
What's that?
YouTube would be kinder to our traffic if you were talking about a school bus fire than getting healthy.
Yeah. But you know what? And
everything's
BJ, I know from the logistics side that talking about things that need to be talked about versus talked about things that will actually get you to people listen. I understand that choice here. I just feel I feel like that is the downfall of societies, is when you fear your tongue and you don't bring up things that are controversial to get people thinking about them. So that's why it's hard for us not to talk about it, because I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Oh, I just heard from a family member again just yesterday. Well, we used to say you don't talk about religion or politics. And I was like, oh, look how well that turned out.
Yeah, bad logic.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on topics. Let me read through.
Real quick, Carrie says men should have mammograms done as well. It's not just for women. Would you ever do one, Joe?
No.
Oh, that would be hilarious. I'd love for a man to see what it's like.
No.
It's a barrel of laughs. Think about who is mostly watching YouTube, though. It's lardos on their couch.
They don't like that talk. But if I just save one of those lardos from eating, he's looking at his Cheeto right now, just about to put it in his mouth, and he hears me shit talking about his bad food choices.
You're right.
He might pick up a bag of walnuts and make better eating
Sick
choices.
of not breathing. Sick of being depressed.
Or just call me a fascist and go back to eating Cheetos. That's
probably a racist.
Probably a racist.
We're racists.
All right, what else is going on?
Oh my God, what just crossed my mind? Well, I don't know if it's completely off topic, but did you see the whole Trump talking about sending everybody a check for like what, $2,000 or something like that? Yep. Do you think that's going to happen?
It will.
Yeah? Like for sure?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like this idea?
Hate that idea.
I know you do. I know you hate this idea. My thing is, everybody that bitched, are you accepting that money? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you think people that are like, shouldn't do this, this is a bad idea, anything, do you think they're like, oh, but thanks for I'll take the money. Oh, okay. Is that dirty money if you are against
not
it?
Not at all. Okay, so if you don't like Christianity, all right, and your company was like, hey, we're gonna have Christmas off this year, and you're like, no, I'm not a Christian. I'm not taking that benefit.
Bah, humbug.
Then you understand that it's something. If just because you show up that day, it's gonna change zero things, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can rail and say, let's not have Christmas anymore. That's fine. Say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if women are like, I'm a feminist and I don't want men doing anything, and the bar's like, free drinks for women, and you're like, I'm not taking the free drink. I don't see many people not taking the benefit. You're still allowed to be against the thing, right?
What do you think we should do with that money?
We pay down the debt. Buy those bonds.
No, I mean all the everyday people that get a check. What do you think they're going to do with it?
It doesn't matter what I want. It's going to happen the same way. Here's the thing. We buy 90% of everything that we buy on retail shelves come from other countries. So we're going to take that money and we're going to buy things that are manufactured. About 20% of it's going to stay in the United States. 80% is going to go to countries and it's going to help their economies. We're going to do that because we do that every single time. What you should do is spend it local and make sure all of that money stays in your neighborhoods, your communities, and your states.
Yes.
But
use it on something you really need, not blowing it because you're like, oh, I know I need these things, but this is free money and I really want that. So I'll go blow it.
Yeah. In my utopia, we make good decisions, but I know that we don't. And that's why it's such a bad idea. But so think about the bonds, right? So let's just say the government took all this money and they regularly every quarter, they purchase back bonds to get them out of the system. So the debt load comes down. You look at the actual debt and it's like, oh, that number's going down rather than up. And then you watch as the interest payments through the budget go down because there's less bonds that you have to pay interest to. You're doing a buyback of all those issued IOUs. And so then you have inflation that theoretically, so let's just say the government saw the reduction in the spending, the budget spending. Do you think that those people are going to be like, let's not spend any more money. Let's just come into this, right? And realize a better economy, less inflation and less total debt, less interest payments and whatever. We're going to cap our spending and let the consumers feel the effects of it. So they went and bought gas, and since we took 20% of the existing inflation out of the economy, gas drops by 20%, and there's everybody's $2,000 check. You realize it in the lessened expenses that are in the economy, versus the liberals are going to say, well, companies will just keep that extra windfall, and I'm going to say the government's just going to keep that extra windfall, and it's never going to get to the end consumers. That's really the only argument for giving it directly to a consumer, even though they're going to make bad choices. Thank you. So you have a bad choice and another bad choice. Pick your favorite bad choice. And that's really what it comes down to. It does not solve anything. It's a feel-good thing, and that's it.
And that's what I was going to say. Do you think this is just a play? This is just let's make this administration look good by saying, oh, but don't you remember when Trump gave everyone all that money for free? And nobody has to think about how we got it, where it came from, was it free, what should have been done. That's all they hear is, oh, I got this money when he was in. Yeah, it's again very superficial. It's done completely for political reasons. If you do take in a windfall and so let's just say there's another round of tariffs. So we need to show legislators that they need to continue and do rescission based on what happened the first time around. We raised all this money, inflation and cost of end products went up. But we got to sell back to the public to do another round of these because it's necessary to go further with it, right? If you give consumers money back and they make the connection between those tariffs and they're going to give me some money, maybe it's easier for legislators to go there and vote for more cutbacks or rescissions and more tariffs. You never know, but that's the most likely as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. I see that.
Patricia says first it was 5,000, then it was 2,000, and now he's saying it might be in the form of a tax credit. So 5,000 would have been the number of total tariff collections, giving it all away, and then everybody was like, "Pay down some of this deficit."
Yeah.
So then the $2,000 number occurred to me that it's probably like use 3,000 and pay down the deficit, and 2,000 to give back to consumers. And that's actually what I called for when they said, "Hey, we're going to take all the tariffs money and just blast it back into the economy and let consumers spend it." I thought that was a little much when that debt number just keeps going up and up and up. You got to get that under control. And if it means, spending $2 trillion and making that $38 trillion debt go down to $36 trillion, that would be helpful. Even if it continues to go up, that would be a psychological victory to watching the debt drop for the first time in my lifetime.
Yeah. Carrie says, I'll support anyone that wants to lower the deficit. Trillions of debt, some going to Venezuela, 20 to 40, busy. And our country's rating is junk bond status for T-bills.
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter. If we're still at the lead of the pack, if the international economy says that we are still the most prosperous nation and there are people behind us, there are countries right now that use our T-bills as sort of like a stable foundation for their economy. Like if you went to somewhere in the Middle East, you went to Iraq, right? If they issued you a piece of paper and you didn't know whether or not this was going to be worth anything one day, you have way less confidence. But let's just say I bought a bunch of United States T-bills and I used that as their gold to issue currency that was backed by T-bills.
What's a T-bill?
That's a treasury bill. It's one of these bonds that when they blast money into the economy, they offset it by selling a treasury bill to somebody else. We can buy treasury bills and other countries buy treasury bills. They use it to prop up their economy so that their paper currency actually has some foundation on something of value. We used to be gold standard, where every bill that was issued had a backing of a piece of gold or a piece of silver or some kind of asset. So it wasn't just, fake money.
Yeah.
But we got rid of the gold standard and now it's all predicated on our economy. And even with that being, the fiat currency is still the most trusted in the world. So there will always be a market for our T-bills. You might have some countries that leverage their exposure to us and say, "Hey, we're China and we don't like you. And we're holding like $20 trillion in your T-bills. We're going to cash this sucker in and make you pay it all right now and collapse your economy unless you do X, Y, Z."
Yeah.
Right? Put you in a bad predicament when they can leverage your liabilities to them and how quickly they need to cash in those things. Make it like a bank run almost.
Yeah. Interesting.
Let's see. 20. She was correcting herself. I'm trying to figure out where that. Well, anyway.
20, 40 billion.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about the solar flare because I want to scare the shit out of you.
Why?
I do. I want to scare the shit out of everybody.
I need more things to worry about.
Yes, absolutely.
Solar flare?
Yeah,
I've not heard about this.
yesterday, big coronal mass ejection on the sun. Big solar. I didn't say ejaculation.
I know.
But it was just
I'm
ejection.
so childish sometimes.
I
God. Go on.
We are in a very active sun cycle, right? So that little ball in the sky that sometimes in Ohio shows itself and it's kind of bright.
Not so much today, but yeah.
Lots of activity. When it gets active, what happens is it spits a lot of its stuff at us, and mostly in the form of energy that flies out into space. And it flies out in all directions, but every once in a while it flies out towards us, pointed directly at us.
Yeah.
And the first one that I mentioned on a regular basis that is recorded and was pretty bad was the Carrington event. This was a really long time ago when telegraph wires is how we communicate, right?
I know that term, but yes. I don't remember
magnetic
what it is.
Storm that came from one of these solar flares hit the Earth, and the Earth is really good about protecting us from all of this radiation and energy by basically collecting up in our upper atmosphere and dumping it off into the poles to go out into space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the solar flare overwhelms what the Earth's atmosphere is able to collect up and shield us from.
Yeah.
It makes its way down through the atmosphere and comes into ground contact, right?
Yeah.
And in the Carrington event, all of this energy was so intense that you'd walk down the road and you would see the telegraph lines sparking. There was so much energy that was making it to ground. It was collecting on the telegraph lines and shorting everything out, causing fires and whatnot. Every 200 plus years, right? A Carrington event is likely to occur. Probabilities wise, we are overly due for a Carrington event.
Can we physically feel something like that, or we just sort of see it in our technology?
I feel you can. I feel when there's energy in the atmosphere, you're surrounded by the radiations that you can't see.
Yeah.
It messes with brain and neurological processes. It can't not, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, we're told things like barometric pressure can mess with you. So I
do feel that there are certain people that have sensitivities to this and absolutely feel the effects of all that extra energy in the atmosphere, for sure. But anyway, when you were a kid to when you were, let's say, till 30, how many aurora borealises have you seen or made the news that they were going to be visible?
I say made the news a lot lately.
Okay.
Am I thinking of
but
something else?
When you were a kid, it was almost never.
Yeah.
I
never saw it.
Never that you would see Northern Lights in Ohio.
Yeah.
Right. Never made the news.
Yeah.
How often now do you hear that Northern Lights are dropping?
Like every couple of weeks.
Every couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
So it's an increased solar activity. Right now, we're in the magnetic storm. There's a G4 storm there's a watch right now that could disrupt electronics, radio communications, satellite communications. So it's not a great one right now.
Is this why I had 2 migraines over the weekend?
I bet.
Seriously?
It might have been. Well, the ejection happened Monday, and so we experienced one last night and another one we're going to have today until this thing subsides.
So probably not then.
Probably not. If it was today or yesterday, I would say it might be related.
Because it's unusual for me. And I had a migraine Saturday come on like that about 3 p.m. followed by another around 3 p.m. Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what is happening? To the point that my husband could see it in my eye. I said, I just lost half my vision. And he's like, to the left? And I said, yeah. And he's like, your pupil's way bigger than the other eye and it's glassed over. And I couldn't see. You think that was like anything in the atmosphere?
Could be.
Ooh, that's crazy.
So if a Carrington event happened right now, this is the scary part, that it's not going to be just some telegraph lines that are sparking, right?
Yeah.
Any unshielded piece of electronics, right, will short out and potentially catch fire.
Unshielded, like needs a Faraday cage?
Faraday cage, yeah.
Faraday cage.
Something to take the energy, collect it, be conductive on the top of the surface, and ground it so that it goes somewhere else other than what's inside the cage. So if just looking on this table, if we had a solar flare right now, is anything in this room going to be spared?
No.
Anything with a circuit board that doesn't have shielding. So you got to look around and say, okay, what is shielded properly that it could survive? And I'm not seeing anything, literally anything.
We're screwed.
Yeah. So if you had like this mixing board over here and there was a circuit board and it had the metal casing here was over top of the circuit board and it had proper grounding, that might survive, right? But if it doesn't, if you have every cars have circuit boards, what are the circuit boards controlling your cars? Literally everything. Your braking system, your fuel, your mixing with air, the fuel injection system. So you go out to your car and it would say, hey, thanks for stopping by, but you're not going anywhere. So we have all these dead cars out there, right?
It's not like anything would like explode. It would just.
Oh, it could.
Oh,
it could. If you've got lithium batteries, right, that receive extra energy and get really warm, you could have some.
Like, could our
fires.
parking lot turn into a freaking bomb?
I don't think it would be a bomb. I think it would be zombie apocalypse. I think everything that has an electric, you'd lose power for sure. Power grid would go down instantly. No communication, so you wouldn't have satellite, you wouldn't have radios, anything that's electronics. go through a camping day, and anything that you would experience while you're camping, you'd have access to. Anything that while you're camping, you don't have access to, that's what it would look like on that day.
My mom told me they lost power on Sunday. Probably not related. But coincidentally, same time frame I'm dealing with migraines. Sort of coincidental.
Yeah. So tonight you can look up at the sky and see if the northern lights will reach Ohio, which I think it's in like Ashtabula and maybe northern Trumbull County. You'll get a little peek out of it. But unless it gets really bad, we won't see it down in Ohio. But take note of when this one happens and hit your stopwatch to find out how frequently these things are visiting us.
Chicken says, I'm with Joe. I think you feel it, and some people are more sensitive than others.
Yep.
One, it was after a blizzard in Ohio in 93, maybe, that he saw the aurora borealis.
Okay. Northern lights were seen as far as South Florida. Ancients believe that was a rift in the realms.
Ooh. Imagine if you believe that and you see that
shit. That would mean a lot.
That'd be pretty believable.
Yes. Wear tinfoil hats, properly grounded tinfoil hats. So take your conspiracy hats, and aluminum is not very conductive, though. We need something better than aluminum. Let's do gold foil. Get some gold foil. Make a gold foil hat, properly grounded. You got to put little
what about like
alligator
copper?
Copper would be good. Very conductive.
Yeah.
Take a little alligator clip and then ground it. There's a grounding post next to everybody's house. Run some wiring into your house, and while you're sitting watching TV, take your alligator clip and plug it into the wire that grounds out by your house. And then if it hits, you'll lose your TV, but your brain will stay intact.
Carrie says solar flares can fry an astronaut at ISS if they're outside.
Yeah, because remember, they got no atmosphere out there. We're protected by atmosphere that diffuses that energy. Yeah. They are in the firing line. So if that radiation cuts through, they've got no protections whatsoever.
Chicken says, not me melting copper down in my backyard. You're going to have a lot of copper thefts.
Gold leaf covered tinfoil hats. I love it. We have just invented a new marketable product.
We could sell this.
Yes. Yes.
I bet you some people would buy this.
Yeah. And you can make your own. If you've got a couple of electronics you hate to lose, like let's just say you got photos of your kids and you want to make sure they don't get shorted out, take a USB drive and build your own little Faraday cage. Tap into that grounding rod next to your house, run the wire into wherever it's at, build your little cage of highly conductive metal and ground it out to the
See, this is just another reminder. I told myself years ago, I'm going to print photos and have an actual old-fashioned family photo album. Mm-hmm. I never did that.
Yeah, but when the power goes out, you're going to have to burn that shit for heat so you don't die anyway. No. So you're done. You're doomed. No matter what.
That's true. Brian says, let's see if you get the movie reference. Armadillo hats.
Armadillo hats.
Not
sure. Give me the movie. Give me the movie. Let's see. There was
it's contaminated.
So energy production. This was a big topic last week with the data centers.
Super Trooper.
But the conversation about what utilities in your state, what is their responsibility for providing a power grid and power to the people who live here that's reliable and innovative, where it's the highest, technology that you can get, versus utility companies. And again, this is like another subsidized industry that we can't believe why things cost too much and they do a pathetic job, because they're overly regulated, they're politically connected. And so you remember the first energy scandal that happened in Ohio?
No.
Oh, yeah. They ripped off the consumers and the taxpayers for billions of dollars, right? And didn't use that money. They didn't use that money to make more power plants and to, sturdy up the grid any. They just put it in their pockets because that's what they do. So I am at the same time saying, hey, let's build more power and for these data centers. And then I'm also going to say, oh, we need to reform the power systems in the United States because you can't trust these damn utilities to do the right thing and give us a reliable service. So maybe it's going to take some catastrophe like a Carrington event to just shit can the entire grid whatsoever, and then force infrastructure to be rebuilt the proper way, instead of, if you're a power company and you collect a bunch of utilities from people, and you're like, hey, I could spend $1 billion on running new lines that are more efficient and more reliable, or I'll just give it to people that I like, right? Which one am I going to do? It's more likely that it doesn't get put back in infrastructure for sure.
Random question.
Yeah.
Why is it called a Carrington event?
The person that discovered it, his last name was Carrington.
That's what I figured.
Let me see what his first name was, because it's been a while since I looked into it.
He's just the one that sort of explained what was happening.
I believe he saw the solar flare. Let's see if I can find him. Carrington and Stewart. You keep talking while
there was an aurora borealis over the Rocky Mountains in the United States, so bright that the glow woke gold miners. They thought it was morning just because of a bright glow. Dang.
Just before noon on September 1st, 1859, the English astronomers Richard Carrington and Richard Hodgson independently recorded the earliest observations of a solar flare. Carrington and Hodges compiled independent reports, which were published side by side in monthly notices, blah, 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 and exhibited their drawings in the event of November 1859. So he was.
How come it's not a Carrington and Hodgson event?
Hodgins got screwed on this. Although
Carrington was,
we don't say Carrington event as something that we're not like reminiscing of great time in our history.
We don't want it to happen.
It was a disaster. So it's almost like if I invented an atomic bomb that just killed 20 million people, would I want my last name tagged with a death event that hurt?
Yeah,
probably not. Let Hodgins take this one.
He's like, that's okay with me. Patricia says, did you see that the AI data center is now looking at building in the little tiny town of McDonald?
A $1 billion facility, not these little rinky-dink, $100 million version. This is going to be a big industrial profile data center that McDonald has a chance of getting.
What do you think that will do to McDonald's?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. They're going to be my poster child, because I want all these other communities. I want it to be done really right. I want them to, do due diligence and really be a blessing for that community. And I want them to prove to other communities they can do it too, in a way. Think about it this way. Our area is already wired for industrial use utilities and power. We had all of these industries that consumed a ton of power. Like when we were doing Bitcoin mining a while ago, I would go to these factories that existed in the 60s and 70s. And I was maxed on the power that I could use. These things, every one of these little machines that I was setting up was 800 watts. So I could burn through a 40 amp system pretty quickly. I was looking for 220 volt. I needed high capacity, like real dense power. And when I started going out to these factories, I looked at their wiring and I was like, holy shit, you could run 100 factories of the wiring that's coming in. You got little substations that are right outside of these factories. So you got so much ability to distribute power to these places. And where do they exist? All of these brownfields. Every footprint that a factory once had, steel or otherwise, already has the infrastructure that can supply massive amounts of power. Then the production, where the actual, the power stations producing the power just have to go to 100 capacity and build more of them, and we can fuel all of this new demand. And that's really going to be the conversation over the next couple of years, is increasing capacity so that these industries can take a foothold.
Brian says, Lordstown says, not in our town. McDonald says, hold my beer.
Love it. Love it.
How much space do you need? Like how many acres, miles, whatever? Can you have this structure and also not bother people who live nearby?
It's scaling, right? So I can take this suite, fill it with servers, and be a data center. Okay. Mm-hmm. My capacity and how many computers that I can tie together in order to sell that end product to somebody, that might not be big enough for an XAI. If they go through the hassle of contracting and licensing it, it's only a little bit of commute. They're looking for much more. They need much more. So this would be piddly and it wouldn't be worth their worthwhile. So the bigger you make it, the easier it is for you to find a customer that needs that top end deal. Like they're opening thousands of these things one after another, and they're using as much space as they can provide, where they've got enough power, they've got the footprint to do it, they've got the public support from the area that they're buying it from.
What would be an example of a customer of something like this?
Artificial intelligence. But
I feel like to a lot of people that sounds vague.
Okay.
Or they have this notion of their understanding of what that means, and maybe it's scary to them. Like, how exactly would AI be used in this?
Well, the data center could be used for other things. As soon as you put a bunch of computers that are networked together, you can use them for hosting websites or processing telco information. You could do it for data storage and cloud computing and virtual remote computers and whatever. So Amazon is a big data center, right? So they have a lot of computers that process transactions when you buy something from them, and then they had a bunch of capacity that they weren't always using. So they started leasing out so that if I wanted to have a virtual computer, I could buy it from AWS, host my server there, and then I don't have to put a computer in my office. I can just use the one that's already sitting at Amazon.
So any major company, industry, place of business, really, that is going to use a lot of tech and IT in multiple capacities can sort of feed from that.
Rather than every computers being spread out everywhere in everybody's places, they put them all in one spot, and then everybody uses the compute power that's on those tied in computers. And the biggest demand for it right now is AI, and they're buying up, they're training and they're provide. You ever use Grok or ChatGPT ever?
I haven't actually. I don't know how.
So sometimes it says, hey, we're kind of busy right now.
Oh.
Right. And wait a minute, make your request again in a few minutes. Well, what that did was it went to make a request, and all the compute power is being consumed by other requests, and you were in line. You ever have AOL?
Yeah.
Right. Busy signal.
Yeah.
You're waiting for your turn to get on.
God,
right?
Get off the phone.
That's sort of the busy signal of AI, is there's just not enough compute to serve every request that's coming in. So you got incoming requests and you've got training. So the AIs are going out, scouring the internet, collecting details on what's out there, and then adding to it what it knows about a database. So it's building databases as it's going out, right?
Okay.
And so that takes compute power too.
Dumb question.
Yeah.
Like elementary level AI.
All right.
How does one get to ChatGPT? Like, I hear people say, oh, I was playing with ChatGPT, or I put this in ChatGPT and it told me, like, where? Was it an app? Is it a website? Like,
well, you probably use
it
because it's back ending a lot of the services that you're already using. It the software you're using is making the request. You never see the front end. You only experience the back end.
Yeah.
But you can go to openai.com, probably log in. I'll do it. Might as well.
Yeah. I've never learned how to even use it. Now, I've used AI, like Facebook has those little games where it'll put your face on stuff. I've done that, but I don't know.
This is ChatGPT. This is the chat.
Oh, what is it? Where'd you go? Where'd you find it?
I went to OpenAI.
ChatGPT.com.
Yeah, you can go to ChatGPT.com.
ChatGPT.com.
And I can say, do you know Kelin Flis doesn't know you? I don't think I know who Kelin Flis is.
Could you tell me
more about them? And yeah, it's possible they don't know me. Most people don't, unless they've used ChatGPT or heard of it. She's an amazing broadcaster.
I thought you were gonna say broad, like she's a broad.
Oh, hi. Now I have introduced you to ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is gonna know me.
They're gonna know you.
Oh boy. What a stalker. It found me.
Okay, went out there and found Kelin.
She hosts a show called Kelin on Air with Youngstown Studio based in Youngstown, Ohio. In one episode, she featured a dietitian and trainer, Casey Young. I did. If you like, I can dig up more about her career, past work, key broadcasts. Stalker. Now, this is interesting, though, too, because like my kids told me they were all at school. They were Googling their parents. And they're like, Mom, we Googled you and there's all kinds of stuff about you on the internet. And I'm like, yeah,
So
I
I've
know.
locked you in. I told him to lock you in. Okay. I love that you want to celebrate Kelin. She sounds like someone really making an impact in broadcasting. I can absolutely keep talking about her and help her share information with her work whenever you ask. However, I don't actually have memory turned on right now, so I can't remember things permanently between chats. If you'd like me to remember Kelin in future conversations, go to personalization and memory. So we have now trained ChatGPT on Kelin.
It's so flattering. ChatGPT seems like a very nice thing.
That's an interesting thing because it's a detriment.
Sucks you in.
It's a detriment. If you want to create a whole civilization of narcissists that won't ever disagree with you and tell you exactly what you want to hear and be your friends no matter what, the separation between how nice AI is and how really terrible real people are.
Yeah.
Because if you say, Joe, should I eat a banana? I'm going to tell you one thing, and then ChatGPT is going to tell you anything you want to hear.
Do you like bananas? If so, then why not?
Bananas might be a great choice.
However, if you don't like bananas, you may not enjoy eating one.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be it.
Yeah.
That's all it knows.
Well, if I'm a 14-year-old boy and, girls are scary, but ChatGPT tells me everything I want to hear, can be my companion for life, I might choose.
This is how you see those like TLC specials. I'm in love with my computer.
Yes. Yeah. That's
and
how it
people
happens.
get like, I could see that being addictive.
For sure it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I want to go and talk to ChatGPT all day.
It knows you now and it looked you up and
We've
it's
been
digging through
introduced.
your records right now. So the next time you talk to it, it'll be more aware than it even was now. Are you going to thank me for exposing you to ChatGPT?
Yes.
Are you going to thank me for exposing ChatGPT to you?
Yes. Here's how useful this is how this can be utilized though. I would be nervous if I were someone in the like mental health field, like counselors, therapists, because typically what someone does when they're going to like a counselor is they're just talking, they're giving information, and that person then sort of gives feedback to get you thinking. That's basically what that's doing. You just talk, you just say things, it regurgitates it to you, maybe paraphrasing in a new way, and then you're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. Huh, thanks. And then you sort of have either solved a problem or found some information or had some sort of realization just by having a discussion with really yourself, but AI.
That's smarter. If you had a friend that was a doctorate in every discipline, would that person be very valuable to you when you needed to ask it stuff or them stuff? They'd know everything.
That's you to me.
I was your OG ChatGPT.
Yes,
I was.
You were my Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah. And now I'm going to be replaced by something that is far.
Listen,
you
said AI will replace all of us,
right?
and you opened the door.
I did not. I railed against this. I only acknowledged after that everybody already gave it permission that I might as well join in
just
too.
Open the portal to my future AI addiction.
Yes.
Julie says, does Palantir scare the crap out of you? Palantir.
I hear that name. I'm not quite sure.
What is that?
It became political because they got involved in elections. Let me look it up. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Palantir Technologies.
Okay, power strategy geared to upside gains. Let me find out what it actually is because All right. And I'm looking at Wikipedia, and I can't wait for Wikipedia to die, by the way.
Because it's awful?
This is awesome. So Elon Musk hates Wikipedia. And because they're popular, they're an activist website. But everybody refers to them when they want to get, unbiased information, and they've really done a disservice to people with that relationship. So he just invented a new one. And so I forget what he called it, but I cannot wait till Wikipedia stops begging you for money every time you go to them, and they just quietly go out of business.
Oh, geez.
Okay, is American publicly traded company specializing in software platforms, headquartered in Colorado, was founded in 2003. Oh, by Peter Thiel. Okay. The company has 4 main operating systems: Palantir Gotham, Foundry, Apollo, and AIP. An intelligence tool used by police in many countries as a predictive policing system and by militaries and terrorism analysis. Oh my God, I'm sweating here right now when I'm reading this.
It literally has the word Gotham in the name.
Authorized for mission critical national security and U.S. Department of Defense. Okay, let's talk about pre-crime, right?
Pre-crime.
Yeah. Do you remember the Tom Cruise movie where they had the little dudes in a pool and they had premonitions about people that were going to commit crimes, and Tom Cruise would go out and stop the crimes before they happen. They'd arrest people in pre-crime. They get this little ball that comes out.
I never saw
John
that.
Smith is going to kill somebody on blah, blah, blah. And then their special team would go out there and stop the crime before it occurred. Right.
I've never seen that.
And yes, it does. In the wrong hands, that scares me. But in the right hands, right, if you can use infinite amount of data to make predictions about people, okay? So let's just say we take a guy that committed a crime. And so when we're interviewing, we're looking through his life prior to committing the crime. He talked to these people. He spent money this way. He did this kind of research. He lived here. We take 1,000 data points about what built a person that did some kind of thing. And then all we do is say, let's take all of those, cast a net. And if anybody ever does these same 1,000 things, we're going to look at them and see if they're becoming the next person that does that bad thing. Yeah. Doesn't mean that I could put them in jail for something they haven't, but at least my police officers can look at them and see if they're that way. Now, when you do stuff, you're basically committing into the system that I'm going to predict and give a probability about you're doing something. So we'll use what Amazon sort of like started this. And I started talking about this like 10 years ago. So Amazon is a retailer that behind the scenes moves inventory, moves things towards you as it's more likely that you're going to need them, right? Well, how does it know when you're likely to need them? It takes in probably 5 or 6 data points. All right. So let's just say I use paper towels because Amazon, every time I'm almost running out of paper towels, Amazon suggests that I buy some paper towels. I could be afraid and think, what are you looking over my shoulder? Or it knows when I usually buy paper towels, and it's just making a prediction that I've bought paper towels 62 days after I bought paper towels the last time. So high probability that you're in the mood for paper towels. Maybe I buy some cleaning things and it's like, oh, it's been long enough that you probably out of paper towels and you just bought some cleaning solutions. Higher probability now that you're going to need paper towels.
Like when your phone tells you, would you like me to give you directions to whatever? Because you go there all the time.
Exactly. So it's making these advanced predictions and then making what you're likely to do more available to you. Like predictive text. Do you know what happens on your phone? You look at a user interface, right? But when you're doing a text message, the buttons that you're pushing are constantly getting smaller and bigger, right?
Buttons you're pushing are getting smaller and bigger.
Yeah, you got a finger that is this many centimeters across. You got a button that's about half that size. So when I hit the T button, right, there, from a mathematical standpoint, there's a likelihood that I'm going to have an H, right? And there's a likelihood that I'm going to hit Z next.
Oh my God, this explains a lot.
And so if I have to type in with a Z, well, Z is like a pinpoint. It's barely even hittable. But the H is like this big on your screen.
This is why I could go to text something and I'd be like, come on. That's not the word I'm trying to. And like, honest to God, it's like 3-4 attempts to type a word that I know I'm typing correctly.
Yes.
And it's like, why is it not reading my fingers? It's like, it doesn't know where I'm going yet. And it's making other buttons bigger.
Yeah. If you have typed the word before, it's one of the data points that it recognizes that you used that word before. And it makes that one more likely because it's in your vernacular.
Why does it still not know I have never, ever needed the word ducking? I don't talk about ducks. I don't say ducking.
And
yet
what
here we are.
What Julie's thinking here is if it falls in the wrong hands, then rather than just catering to your likelihoods and probabilities, it takes an activist approach. And maybe it thinks you should be talking and thinking and researching ducks. And so it starts molding you rather than being molded by you.
See, now that, okay, I could see. Because up to this, like, I kept saying, this is what humans already do. We already learn from experiences and observation. Like, I talk to customers at the business every day. I bet you I can tell you with fairly good accuracy where this conversation is going to go in the first sentence a customer says to me. The first minute, the first few seconds of them presenting something, I bet you I can tell you what we're going to do here. And we learn those kind of things.
And that's the mathematics behind what AI can do is your sample size is maybe a couple thousand customers. What if you had 1 million customers?
Yeah.
Your large language models require huge data sets and be able to draw out different, sort of like how things align and make predictions about them. So if someone calls you and it's already a 99% certainty of something, the algorithm can pick that out before they've said but 2 words because they have a history to be able to make a prediction in the future.
So you're saying that can then morph into, rather than it just observing and taking data, but actually causing something to happen, actually morphing
in bad
it
hands,
itself.
You can start, and that was the Tom Cruise movie. Was when it went rogue is when somebody then hijacked it and made things happen that wouldn't otherwise have happened.
And again, I think we've been seeing that forever, and it can be in the form of rage bait. And anybody who doesn't know what rage bait is, quickly, it's something on the internet, a video, content on social media that is meant to make you mad. Rage bait, algorithms serving you different things. Like, I feel like even in this last election cycle, we saw people change, almost like personalities came out and people had opinions that may be different from how they used to feel because of all kinds of information they're now being served. It's like they can make you feel a certain way, can cause you to almost want to do something.
And all of this isn't worst case. This is inevitable.
It's already happening.
This is inevitable. There's no changing it because we're going to reach homeostasis.
Yeah.
And so like the first, let's make our predictions with a high probability. The first self-publishing where we're putting information and it's just giving us GPS coordinates. There's no downside. It's very easy to get you addicted by giving you a tool that helps you. Then it's going to be controlled and published by somebody else's. So like if I'm driving my Tesla and it sees that on one road, I start swerving at a certain spot every morning. Well, when it's an autopilot, it learned from me that I swerved there and that it used me as its instructor. But then somebody had the idea that says, well, it's not going to, John, who also has a Tesla, right? He swerved there. I'm going to have John's Tesla tell Joe's Tesla that it's there. And then Joe doesn't have to experience it on his own. He becomes better because of John's swerving. All right. So now I learned not self-publishing. I had the group publish information into it. Again, still sounds like upside. But now that I have group publishing, I can take things that, it knows that I don't want to hit the pothole. Right. But now it can suggest things that it doesn't think you should do or want to do, even if it didn't ask you if you wanted it to be put in those parameters.
Yeah.
That's where it starts getting wonky because now philosophy drives it rather than the tool that I'm using. But if the hammer popped out of your tool chest and instead of it being an extension of what you want to do, if the hammer just started hammering things and so long it was like, I woke up and it hit this nail in that I was going to do anyway. That's a great use. I didn't have to think of it. But once it starts hammering stuff that you would have never done, it's like, now I have an argument. Hammer, you stay right where you're at. And the hammer's going to say, too late, bitches. Right?
Yeah.
I'm already out of the box. You don't control me anymore. I'm my own thing.
Less and less us being in control, more we are controlled.
Yes. And we are pushing it to be there. That's why I say it's inevitable. We're already there. Just none of the downsides have really visited us at this point. So Julie's got a point. And when you start creating more and more add-ons to something that we haven't even got control of yet, we don't have standards. We don't have what it's allowed to do and what it's not allowed to do. It's free reign. It is the Wild West.
Let's crawl before we sprint.
We didn't do that. Elon Musk warned us not to. And eventually he was like, didn't listen to me. I'm all in. I guess I got to do it too.
Brian says, Joe almost sounding like the Boris Johnson I love Chat GPT clips running around the internet lately. If you haven't watched it, you must.
All right. Remember Boris Johnson. I want to look into these because this has got to be hilarious.
Just ask Luke how addictive AI is.
Mm-hmm.
Would predictive crime programs not be considered profiling then?
And that's we do that anyway with our higher end law enforcement. Their investigations profile people who are more likely to do stuff. This just takes
literally a job, a profiler.
It just takes it a couple of steps further. All of us gave up all of our privacy so that they couldn't do it if we didn't give them information for free. And because we didn't push back on it, every service that you bring in, you basically, when you hit the acceptance at the bottom, the little checkbox that says, I agree, we just give them all of our data.
Yeah.
So they profiled all of us.
Like when my kids are like, oh, Mom, when we all Googled our parents, we Googled you, and there's a lot of stuff on you. And I said, because I put stuff out there.
Yes.
Like it's social media pages and YouTube and Youngstown Studio, and you Google me, I put all that out there. Now I can Google you, and I find very little because you've not done that yet. Like that's how it works. Is
in due time, my pretty.
Pretty soon, though.
Last night, my family was discussing a possum that had been getting in the garbage. All devices were on the table, not opened. Today, we are all getting videos about possums. WTF,
yes,
with an exclamation point.
I remember several years ago, some family members and I were out at a bar, and there was some live music, and there were people singing. And this woman came up and she sang a song. And it was like an old song from the 70s. What was that, like White Rabbit or something, whatever it's called? Anywho. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is a good song. And the next day I was talking to my dad on the phone, and I was like, yeah, we went out and we saw this band and they were pretty good. She sang this song, and I said the song title again. And I said, oh, you remember that song? Yeah, she did a really good job. The very next time I opened YouTube on my phone, what song got served to me? That one. I had never Googled it. I had never searched it. I had never played it, listened to it, nothing. I talked about it, and there it was being served to me.
All right, well, give me the rest of the story. How does that happen? Let's dig into the, if I didn't want it to happen, I would do X, and how it did happen, and here's why it happened. How did that happen?
Our phones listen to us.
Okay. Do you know that for sure, or is it speculative?
I've been told that.
Okay.
I've been told, and I'm going to butcher this because I don't fully understand it. But I used to work for an advertising company, and they said there are sort of buzzwords or things that whatever is in our technology can hear or like pick up on, or it will ding to them certain things.
Okay. Is it useful if your home appliances are listening to you and it can figure out a way to serve you better by knowing more about you and knowing what you're talking about? Like if you were in your kitchen and you were like, I think I hear an intruder. And then your appliances are like, oh, they must be in danger. Let's lock the doors and make sure the alarm is set and maybe send a text message to police to send somebody around and whatever. And you did it all without you asking it to do it, only because it knew enough about what you were there, what you were doing there to increase the danger probability or possibility.
Yeah. I just saw a video recently online. A woman was being abused. Some dude beat her up, whatever, spouse, whatever. And she's laying on the floor, can't get to her phone or anything, but she yelled out loud, Alexa, call for help, or whatever it was she said. And it did. And she got exactly what she needed just by saying out loud into the house.
So you have two ways that it's happening. It has context, right? It's listening to what you're talking about and gathering information about what you talk about, who you are, and whatever. So that's one part. And then it's predictive, where it might not have heard the raccoon story, right? But it may have profiled, and in this case, I don't think a possum or raccoon or whatever. But you may have got into other behaviors that it is monitoring, email you send, websites you're looking at, and it just extended the profile into the possum's raccoon conversation. So you can get there both ways, and it's not a one or other. It's probably both of them. It's considering what you talk about in conjunction with what you're looking at and researching and making a pretty good guess about what you're going to do next. Human beings think they're like super unique. Like every thought is original in their head, and they never follow patterns, and they never have these social cues to make behavior changes and whatever. It's not the case. We are such primitive beings that it is the mentalist, right? The mentalist just knows a couple things more than you do.
Yeah. He's
They're
just
not
a better
creating
observator.
magic. right? You're giving away all of the information. It allows them to do what they do. Make it not possible by hiding all of the things they look for. Know what they look for and don't do any of those things. But that's why it's an inevitability. We've already given all the information. We've given them blessing and ability, right, for them to help us as a tool. And it's only a matter of time. So if I said, I'm going to make you wear a body cam as you go around, right? I'm going to say, listen, this is going to pick up all of your conversations. It's going to pick up everything that you do and whatever. You get to go around there, and it's going to be a great tool because if somebody runs into you, we'll be able to catch that intruder. We'll be able to have proof that something happened. You're protected, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, for the first part, for the first month while you're doing this, you own everything. You'll only use that data while it's on your chest. If something bad happens, then we'll use it. And then a month later, we're like, hey, you know what? The first month subscription, if you want to keep wearing this thing, we're going to share this data with us and we're going to collect it all on our side. And it's ours now, right? And you're like, well, I don't care if it's yours. Like, what do I care about? But then our systems, right?
Yeah.
I heard you use a dirty word, right? A word that you'd be really embarrassed, or you did something that was compromising to what everybody would feel about you. So your AI said, Kelin, I'm really glad. ChatGPT says, we're really glad you're using our service. I'd really like to keep you as a customer. Instead of the free one, we're going to require you to do $20 a month. And you're like, yeah, I'm not really interested in the $20 a month. Oh, and the ChatGPT says, I think it's really in your best interest because I know the dirty word that you said to pay me $20 to be subscribed. So as long as you pay $20, I will 100% keep it secure. It'll never leave my servers, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, like ChatGPT just owned me. It has some blackmail material on me. And now I have to pay a $20 fee. I'll pay the $20 fee because that's not excessive. But you can see how the more leverage points, because it's learning from human beings. This is what human beings do. We get shit on everybody, and we use that to get what we want by trading blackmail with people.
Yeah.
So what do you think? AI is not going to do that? We're like, oh, it's a very effective human characteristic. I think I'm going to do that too because it really works.
AI is made by humans
to emulate humans.
And so to say AI is scary points out how scary humans
100%. 100%.
Yikes.
I want to see Joe's live reaction to the Boris Johnson clips. Oh, well, I will do it. I will do it.
We'll do it, Brian.
Brian, you've been a good friend to this show, and I will reward you to my actual.
This is one of those like social media things, the reaction videos that are so popular.
Boris Johnson. Action packed.
Says AI and ChatGPT.
Hold on. I don't think that was the one you wanted me to watch.
Yeah, which one was it? Look, maybe look, what did he say? What did Brian say? ChatGPT. AI. ChatGPT.
Was that
AI.
it?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. AI. ChatGPT.
All right. Well, those are the only two that came up when I asked, but was it the ChatGPT one?
Is it ChatGPT?
There were only 40-second clips. So if there's another one,
ChatGPT.
One was in the backseat of a car on his way to an airport. Yes, Boris Johnson is a fan of ChatGPT.
He said yes.
Yeah.
And AI. ChatGPT.
Is Boris Johnson AI generated? Do you think he's real?
Do you remember forever ago, one of our earlier shows, we talked about demons and who's a demon because they're not quite right and their body doesn't look like it like fits. Do you think he's that?
I don't know if about him. I know
alien?
he's a weirdo. Like he's a real big weirdo.
Is he?
Well, everything that's happening
Got some
over in
crazy
Europe
hair.
right now concerns me culturally. So every leader that is involved in this and not being a good leader and stamping this out, they're going to be a great cautionary tale for the United States. At least we can refer to what's happening there as like, don't let that happen, even though we don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know enough about him.
Brian says he's definitely an alien. Listen, if somebody said that guy was an alien, I'd believe you.
He's an alien.
ChatGPT?
He's a ChatGPT.
Like crazy hair, weird way of speaking.
Yes. All right. So here's one more topic for today. We're running a little low on time. So the UK, we've been blasting these narco ships out of the international waters, right?
Yeah.
I think we're up to 20 now.
Dang.
20 of them blasted by our drones.
Yeah.
And so give me your thoughts first on our ability to wage war against the cartels and then take unilateral action against those cartels directly using that kind of force.
I mean, I don't really have strong feelings about it. I guess I don't know enough about it. I know it's happening. I've seen videos of it. I don't hate the idea of protecting American citizens. There has been pushback against it that I've heard, like, oh my God, we're killing these people. We don't even know enough, blah, blah, blah. I don't know enough about it to form a strong opinion, but it is interesting.
Okay, so you're in the middle of the desert and you have terrorist cells that are super dangerous, putting the life of a military service person in that versus a Tomahawk missile that blows up the entire cave.
Yeah.
Did you kill innocents when you did that? Yes, but your alternative was putting American soldiers at risk rather than just taking out the whole thing. So I hate death. I hate war. I hate the taking of any life whatsoever. I would rather send in SEAL Team 6, knowing they can get the job done, taking him, putting him in a prison cell so they can never hurt somebody else and you didn't have any loss of life, right? So I think being a terrorist and taking innocent life is worthy of being taken off of this earth. I don't like it, but I could support it. As far as narco goes, lots of people die from the exposure to illegal drugs coming into this country, and we know about it. That's why they were deemed as a terrorist organization. You got two people who are probably mules. Probably they were just regular people. Cartels came up to him and said, I got this boat in the harbor. One of two things. I'm going to give you $50,000 if you take my boat and drive it over here, and then you're done. $50,000 is all yours. Or, hey, I just took your wife hostage and you get on that boat, or I'm going to kill your wife. But regardless, the person on the boat is just an instrument of the cartel, right? And so I think, in my opinion, we are literally taking an innocent life on purpose to send a message back to those other people. Because now when you say, I'm going to kill your wife if you do this, you're still going to do it because you're protecting your wife. You're still going to die.
Yeah.
Now, if I took SEAL Team 6, right, and I drove out a little amphibious vehicle out to the boat, and at gunpoint, I took those two people into custody off the boat. Then I threw some C4 in there, detonated the boat. Still same end result. Yeah. Right. I don't think SEAL Team 6 is going to be put at risk with a couple of regular people that are driving this boat.
Well, couldn't the bad guys that say, go do this, I have your wife, say, here are some guns, and if you are captured, I will kill them?
It could be.
Like, I'm sure they're told you better fight back and make this happen.
But I would trust that our people could do it more safely than the terrorist group that are in the middle of the desert somewhere. I think there's more things that are in our control that we could hover a drone right above them and with a camera to see if they're armed or not, and choose the ones that aren't armed at all and get the people off of there and put them in custody first.
So right? Why don't we do that?
That would be a good suggestion.
And that's always my question is anytime I come up with something like, well, why don't we do this? I have to think, especially if it's something I came up with, there are people far more experienced and intelligent than me looking at that. So why didn't they? Was that already floated out to them? And they're like, here's why we can't do that. Here's
so
why
if I'm a military advisor, I would have probably guessed by the fourth or fifth that we would have blown up that they would not use that strategy when we're just blowing up all of their shipments anyway, right? Because they're a very capable group. And they can just use submersibles, or they can put it on commercial airliners, or they can find a different strategy if every single shipment that goes out gets blown up by the drones. Yeah. So I'm thinking that once they relayed the message that we're taking it serious, they were hoping that the boats would stop and there would be no more to blow up, is my guess.
Yeah, because there is, I mean, even if it's not the actual cartel members themselves, they can still be dangerous. You know, like my husband used to say, one of the hardest things when he was on deployments was having to like hold children at gunpoint. And he's like, you can't trust any of them because they are innocent, but they are being used by the others.
Right.
So they are given a gun. They are given instructions. They are there to hurt you, whether they want to or not. And so you have to protect yourself. And it's like, couldn't they do those to then those people on the ships?
And that's where I feel like just a little bit more due process. And I know that it does not extend, warfare does not extend regular liberties to people who are not citizens and are assaulting. Every boat that comes here is an assault. That shipment of drugs will kill people. So you got to think 2 lives versus the 1,000 lives that thing's going to take.
But you still, if it's a hostage bank robbery situation and they're sending a hostage out with an explosive strapped to them, you don't want to kill the hostage.
Exactly. You want to do everything you can to make sure that the hostage isn't, their life isn't taken. That's sort of my, my angle on it. But like I said, I think that the information from the living captured is more valuable than just blowing it up and not having any of that information. If we're going to infiltrate the cartels, then the stuff that's in the head, we can know, like, how did you get involved? Like what's going on? And then we find out Bob Smith's wife's being hostage by the cartel. Now send in SEALs Team 6 and boots on the ground to take out the cartel to rescue Bob's wife is a better predicate to infiltrating, that country.
Or even if, listen, you're either going to be blown to smithereens and die anyways, and then what happens to your family, or you come with us, you're still in a bad boat, but at least maybe we can prevent this in the future.
It just makes me a little bit sad that we're callously taking lives and not trying to save, even if they're bad people, whatever. I want to be more certain that who we targeted isn't like a mistaken guy on a jet ski trip. Right. That they and you're hoping that the government did due diligence. They knew that ship was going out. They knew exactly who was on it and what payload that they had.
Yeah, because that's another thing, too, is we only know what we see in the news.
Right.
We don't know for sure what they're doing. We don't know that they didn't do this. We don't know that those explosions were real. We don't know anyone was on there. Like, if there's one thing I've learned through hearing and talking to other veterans is, here's the narrative we're telling you, and that may or may not be true.
Right. Well, even in Afghanistan and early on in Iraq, there were some missile strikes that hit wrong targets and took regular lives. Right. So in that country, it made us very unpopular because we weren't just hitting military targets. We were accidentally taking somebody out. So I want the administration and the operatives to be very, very certain before they can just hit the red button, extinguish someone's life, and you know what I mean, have no hell to pay for it.
Yeah. Julie says, do we know these are drug smugglers? Were they targeting the U.S.? Logistics say it was not possible. Why only Venezuela? I think this is a political move against Venezuela.
And it could be. And that's why just a little bit of communication, a sharing of what's going on. I think in South America, I think the cartels pretty much own everything. So every government is a cartel. And it's now leaked over into Europe, and the UK now is stopping their intelligence sharing with the United States because we're blowing up these boats. They're stopped telling us what they know about drugs that are coming in. So I think even countries that are our allies have some kind of influence with the cartels because it's such big money in all of these economies.
Yeah, Patricia says, so now they will no longer share intelligence with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm not sad that somebody is that sells drugs into our country is taken out, not able to do that anymore. I don't know that this is the way that I would do it if I were there. Hopefully it's more complicated and I just don't have all the information that the people deciding, or maybe I would do this. Absolutely. If I knew the scale of what was happening. Right. I'm willing to trust this far that they've got this under control. My brain tells me it's government, so they never have it as in control as I think they do. And so I'm suspiciously observing at this point.
Yeah. God, I could not be in these positions. Like years ago, I was on Fort Benning and we got to go and take a tour and see things like tanks and oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember what they're called. They're like tanks, but they're smaller. And you get to kind of like go in these simulators and sit in these things and shoot these things. And someone's like, yeah, you sit in here and you're in this little thing. And they're like, you see that tank going around? And it's like, yeah. And they're like, just aim and fire. And I'm like, okay. And I went, and it goes, and it blew something up. They're like, you got it. And I was like, I don't like that. And I knew it was a simulation. And I was like, these people are bred all day to just killed a bunch of people.
Like a video game.
Killed a bunch of people. Like a video game, but it's real life. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, yeah, we just blew that up.
In
Everybody
the military,
there just died.
In the military, they teach you to unpersonalize what it is you're going to do. You have to be able to make that drop without emotion. So let's just say that tank simulation showed you the tank that was coming at you, and you knew that was an enemy vehicle, right? And it showed the pilot of that tank, what their kids' names were, where they went to school, what do you had for dinner? And it showed them, and it personalized it and said, oh, that's Bob Smith. He's only being asked to do this by his controlling generals and whatever. He's not willingly, but guess what? He's going to take a beat on me, and he's going to blow my tank up. So I need to take a beat on him and blow him up before he does me.
Yeah. Yep. And
that is military. Yeah. That is war.
As a military spouse, we would have briefs and debriefs like they did, obviously a little different. But when they were coming back from a deployment, the wives had a debrief and we had to go on post and meet with these different people. And they would talk about them coming back and give us a window and a timeline and all these different things. And they would say, from the very beginning, we were always taught one thing you've got to understand is they're coming back in a new mindset. Like for months, they were told no emotions. You don't have emotions. You are a machine. You cut that all off immediately. And we're asking them to come back home and just jump into your daily life like a human being.
Right.
And you're going to have to give them some grace. And, you know, sometimes you could see it. Sometimes you couldn't. Sometimes they'd come back. It's like they never left. But it is a weird thing to think about, to sort of mess with someone's psyche in that way.
But warfare's always been the same since the dawn of time. Every culture needed this kind of warfare. So think like social media didn't exist for World War I, World War II, Vietnam, right? How many of these blowing up of drug running boats happen? Nobody ever really knew about them, and they were just an integral part of, you know, your strategy in warfare.
Yeah. And I still, like I said, I question everything we think we know. You know, there was that 60-minute interview with Trump that was just, a week or so ago. She was asking him something about his plans, and he's like, I'm not going to tell a news reporter about our plans and what we're going to do. Like, there are some things that I see in the news, and I say, no way, we just told the entire world that. Mm-hmm. No way we're reporting our every move for everyone, including our enemy, to see. So why would we trust that we know anything? We're being told information that they don't mind the entire world, including the people they're going after, knowing. So we can't know that much.
So social media exists. Let's just say we got a napalm drop, right? Our opposition is advancing. We've got thick forest here. They're all, we can't pick them off. They're hitting our troops. We're dying over here. We're going to blast this entire area, right? So we put this out on social media that, hey, we're going to take out the enemy combatants in this forest. And someone's like, hey, there's a village over there. There's some people who aren't part of the war that they're just living there in their little hut, right?
People.
How are you going to ensure that they don't get caught up in your napalm? And the general's like, what are you talking about? What do you mean?
Well,
spare them?
We can't.
We got soldiers that are going to die if we don't take out this whole area. That's a casualty, and we're willing to tolerate that casualty of an innocent life for the sake of advancing this war with what we have to get done.
Yeah.
So if we had that conversation, the Julies and whatever, the opposition to whatever, they would be highly critical of our decision making on what we chose to do in the act of war. Once it goes to you're a combatant, you're a terrorist group, and this is war, the whole game shifts of what we're willing to do from a moral standpoint.
Oh, it's so interesting. I know we're getting low on time. Earlier this week, I got to go see a Medal of Honor recipient speak at a high school. Ken David, I think is his name. He's from Girard, apparently. Was awarded the Medal of Honor, fought in Vietnam, was drafted at a very young age. And through his storytelling, he made a comment that stuck with me that he's like, we were used as bait. Like we were. Like so many people were immediately killed. All these different things happened. And when he said we were used as bait, it's like, do you trust that you know what you're going to do when you sign up? That you're not purposely being put in a very dangerous position.
But that's
with
warfare.
The hopes
you
of,
can use a whole platoon to draw enemy fire, and they're like, yeah, but they're going to shoot at me, and I'm probably going to die.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep,
but that's your job.
We're going to save other people because you're willing to make that sacrifice. In modern warfare, that shouldn't be as necessary because we have electronics. I can run a robotic dog to draw out enemy fire, know your location, and then bomb the crap out of you. Right?
I mean, even they've used real dogs. There's a dog that saved my husband's life.
Oh, don't kill the dog.
His name was Boy. And my husband was about to go down in somewhere to look for someone. And just before he jumped down, somebody grabbed him and said, wait, let's send the dog first. And he's like, oh, good idea. Sent the dog in, and there was a guy down there that opened fire and killed him.
Oh, poor Boy.
Yeah, his name was Boy. My husband has a little bracelet. So to your point, yeah, like dogs then can advance into robots, can advance into whatever. And so you hope then that
There's a hierarchy of sacrificial beings on this planet. I hate that. Carter says Trump is sending a signal to all people intending to smuggle drugs into this country will pay a steep price. I think of the 100,000, hundreds of thousands that drugs have killed. And if that was your daughter, that was a victim, it would be time to take action. But I think the cartels are so ruthless and have such a disconnection. They'll sacrifice people all day to get the drugs in, and they're going to find 1,000 different ways to be able to get them there. So yes, you're taking a strong position. You're showing them that you're not messing around. And if it's received and that's successful, cool. Then you made that same enemy draw out fire sacrifice for these innocent people, or could be innocent people who are just mules for those drugs. But anyway, so Julie says, I encourage you to read the 60-page court docs from Jack Smith on Trump taking classified docs. I freaking hate Jack Smith. He is such a partisan pawn. I don't want to read anything that dude has to say.
Have we talked about him before?
We have. He's a dipshit.
That's not the guy that was like, I am not suicidal and I'm going to release. That's a different guy.
Yeah. Jack Smith was an operative that completely his sole obligation was to go after Trump. And so he had lots of writings that sole purpose was just to undermine and prosecute and get in the way of Trump. He's a hack, and I don't read hack things. Just like I don't read Steve Bannon's. He's a hack on the other side.
Yeah.
So that no value can be gotten out of someone who has their sole mission statement to destroy
somebody
Trump.
Who benefits. I benefit if I release this information and make you feel a certain way. Then it's like, well, I don't know if I trust that.
Yeah, Jack's not on my list of influential people. That is for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get out of here for today. Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you for joining us. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.